Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kitty Mary and I just want to sit down and have a chat with you guys today. I have over the last few days posted a lot of content that for a lot of people have seemed very refreshing. To some it's been a little bit disappointing, but you know, what can you do? I have talked a lot about how to give yourself slack, how to allow yourself to fail, and sort of explored that language a little bit more on my platform in particular. I know this is something we've talked about within the sustainability movements for a long time, but it's something that I want to continuously work into my content, which stands in quite sharp contrast to how I've talked about sustainability, zero waste, veganism, etc., and so on and so forth in the past. I want to talk about some of the more problematic type of sustainability content that I've posted over the years and reassess and sort of my relationship with these same topics today. Okay, let's do this. So last weekend I spent a few days in the hospital. I'm fine, I'm okay, nothing major, but we just had to figure out what was going on. And during my stay, I think I was there for about 2 days in total. Fasting for 24 hours in total is awful. But I created a lot of plastic while I was there. There was a lot of disposable involved. There is when you go to the hospital, because things has to be sterile, so obviously. I had IV drop, I had blood samples taken, all different kinds. Your medication came in a little disposable cup, so many types of packagings. And I've been in the zero waste lifestyle for a really long time, so I see this instantly. I notice it, it's sort of just stored in my brain every time this happens. However, I didn't feel bad about it for a single second. You sometimes need to generate waste, especially in situations where you are no longer in control, and you really aren't in control. If you need treatment, surgery or medication, don't feel bad for a second. Over the years, I've read so many comments from people that feel so badly about going into surgery or having to take medication because it comes in plastic packaging or there's plastic packaging related to that process. Don't feel bad for a second. I have said that before as well. I just really want to make that abundantly clear. But I didn't always feel super chill about this amount of plastic. When I had surgery back in, I think it was 2017, 16, I made a video about the hospital waste that I produced during my surgery and the moments before the surgery and after the surgery. And I told the staff in the hospital that if possible, as much of the plastic waste that was generated, they could put it into my jar. That would be amazing. And I brought a big jar so I could take it all home and I could show you guys. Obviously not all the trash fit into that jar, but also that is so not the point of zero waste, you guys. Even if the point of the video, the point of the video was that I didn't feel bad about it, but I wanted to show you guys. But even creating the video, no matter what the intention was, creates a stigma regarding the plastic waste that is somehow your fault or it's a problem, it's an issue that you have to figure out. It isn't. Of course, we can talk about the medical industry and the impact of the medical industry. That is not up to the individual patient to figure out. Okay, anyway, so even if the point of the video, even if I say in the video that you shouldn't feel bad if you need surgery or treatment, etc., bringing a jar, using the jar, is still sort of an indicator of a mindset that was really unhealthy. But let's also just talk about the zero waste trash jar in general. I've done that many times. I think I've dedicated a whole video to why I feel this is bullshit. Because it is. I've tried to live that way for a long time. I used the trash jar as an indicator of how successful I was in zero waste. It is no way, and I cannot stress this enough, it is in no way, shape or form an indicator of how sustainable you are. When I produced the least amount of trash, I went to the butcher shop and I got meat in my little jars and I didn't produce any waste, and that was fine, right? Zero waste beef. When we hyper-focus on these tiny things, we end up disconnecting from the overall big picture of what sustainability is and where our impact and emissions come from. So I think it's really important, while it's important to reduce our waste and remove unnecessary trash and just reflect upon how we use disposables, it's not the only part of sustainability. And even when you say that, if you still use the trash jar, I feel like you're saying one thing and doing another thing. I think it gives a lot of people an idea of what sustainability and zero waste is that is not true or accurate. I've heard a lot of people say that the sustainability movement overall is very privileged and very elitist, because the zero waste movement for a lot of years has been very privileged and very elitist, because you need a bulk store, you need a farmer's market, you need your expensive swaps so you can keep your waste jar lighter. But a lot of the core values in sustainability, a lot of the things that actually make a really big impact in our everyday lives, is something that a lot of consumers from more privileged economies like Denmark, like my own, we have to unlearn, because a lot of sustainability actually comes from people that are affected by poverty. It's about using less, not over consuming, and using what we already have. It's about repairing what we already have. The whole idea of something being disposable is something that's born out of richer economies. So in a lot of ways, the zero waste movement, at least how it was portrayed, especially a few years ago, made it seem as though if you didn't have these means, you couldn't be sustainable. And I still see the aftermath of this mentality, right? So I still have people that tell me that because of their low budget, they cannot be sustainable, they cannot be zero waste. And while zero waste is one indicator of sustainability, is nowhere near the only one. And I think it's incredibly problematic that we've developed a narrative or a discourse regarding sustainability where people of low income feel like they cannot participate, when in fact they're already doing it. They're already doing it. Sustainability, especially from this consumer perspective, is about reducing overconsumption, right? You can only overconsume if you have an excess of resources, if you're overconsuming. If you're living on a tight budget, I promise you, you are already being more sustainable, even if you don't think so, even if it doesn't feel like it, than people who are buying really expensive zero waste stainless steel and glass swaps. I am just There are certain instances where I feel like a lot of these movements are defined by the products that you can buy to participate in said movement. And for zero waste, it's the stainless steel things, it's the glass straws, it's the nice totes, it's the last swap vibes, it's the mason jars, it's things, right, that define the culture. And overall, we need to get away from that entirely. We need to get away from the overconsumption bullshit, fast fashion vibes, but we also need to get away from this green capitalistic mindset that we need products to define where we are in our lifestyle. So when I'm thinking about content that I have made that's been potentially quite problematic, or not problematic in the we're gonna cancel her now way, but in the this is not constructive or productive for sustainability, really. It's good fun, but the zero waste movement, when I got into it back in 2016, was very superficial. So that's what my content from those times reflect. And I think you can also argue that during this time in sustainability, consumers weren't really involved in it all that lot. It wasn't as widely known as it is today that consumers have power, consumers have responsibility, because back then consumers were not really involved in sustainability. At least that was my experience and that was my perspective. So suddenly figuring out that there was all these things you could do, or all these things you can use in different ways, was very empowering. Today we're talking so much about what consumers can do that we're completely forgetting about the impact of policymakers, the impact of legislation, and the impact of corporations. So we need to focus a lot more on that now. But during the beginning of the zero waste movement, it felt so empowering to know that I don't have to use the plastic bag in the supermarket. I can bring my own bag. And it's a stepping stone, so I don't want to sit here and shit all over my past efforts, because those efforts got me to where I am now, so I am really grateful. But I did a lot of zero waste hauls when I started out, yeah. And it sounds weird to say, and it's so far from what I would do today. So I would make videos where I sat down and I showed you guys what I bought to be zero waste. And I would use the same format as I had previously known from beauty and fashion YouTubers, the haul format where you sort of just go over things that you bought recently, and it generated a lot of attention and generated a lot of views. But it wasn't things from H&M and Sephora, it was like thrifted things. You know, it was my stainless steel lunchbox, and it was new and shiny, and it felt new and shiny in a really empowering way. But I would never do that type of content today. I would never do something that was that product focused. I'm still super down to do reviews of different products if people find that interesting, but I think there's just so much more to sustainability than what you can show in a whole video. And I think we need to get away from that format, because if the consumer mentality is the same as it was when you were shopping fast fashion as when you go into sustainability, you are going to see the same consumer behavior repeat itself, just with different products, just with different things that you buy. But you're gonna have that feeling still of, oh, it's been a while since I bought something, better go out and buy something. And then it just turns out to be glass straws or tote bags or whatever. But it's still this need or this craving for new things. We're just replacing some consumer products with new consumer products. And you know, that's not the vibe. So talking about zero waste content and how to communicate these different aspects of zero waste living, I think one of the types of content I honestly also would categorize as somewhat problematic, or at least to the people looking for this specific type of advice, really unhelpful. So I have done several videos where I show you guys how I do my grocery shopping. And in recent years, those videos have had a very clear distinction between what I'm able to get at a farmer's market and at a bulk store and what I shop in normal everyday supermarkets. And this changes often. During my time in Aalborg, I have gone from having no bulk shops to having one bulk shop to having two bulk shops to now again having no bulk shops. So for dried goods, I only use the supermarket. The nearest bulk shop to me right now is over 100 kilometers away. So that's not something I've incorporated into my everyday routine. I'm still so lucky that I have a farmer's market really close by, so I'm able to get locally and seasonally produced produce. Love it. Absolutely love it. Other than that, it's normal grocery stores. And whenever I show you guys what I eat during a day or a week, or how I spend my money, or generally how my everyday, more realistic zero waste life looks, I always want to show you guys that not everything I buy comes without plastic, because that is literally not possible. Especially not if you don't have a bulk store and when you like shitty plant-based nuggets. So sometimes, overall, I've become a lot less idealistic with what I show and how I act. I think it's important to show that even when you call yourself an environmentalist, even when you care about the planet, even when you use terms like low impact, low waste, zero waste, you still generate some waste, and not all of it is, oh, it's because I couldn't control that situation, I didn't have a choice. Sometimes you make a deliberate decision to do something that involves plastic. It is literally not the end of the world. There's so many things to focus on. And if a few plastic wrapped items will make you more sustainable in the long run, will make you interested and motivated and empowered to keep going. But the guides and videos I made in the beginning of my journey related to where I shop and how I shop were so infuriating. I recently rewatched some of it. It's all still available on my platform, so you can see where I'm coming from and where I'm going and where I've been and what I'm becoming. Okay, the advice is, if you want to shop plastic free, it's a really good idea to find a store that offers plastic free products. And if you don't have that type of store, that's too bad. This is what I'm saying when I'm referring to the sort of privileged elitist mindset, because a lot of these shops, not exclusively, but a lot of these shops are in richer neighborhoods, are something that's a little bit more pricey, and they're completely valid. I think there is a point to be made that some things are just expensive to produce, and there are more expensive supply chains related to getting things in the proper type of packaging, everything organic, bulk. There are just more expenses related to those types of products than there are cheap discount supermarket products. often at least. And when you buy more of something, it often becomes cheaper per product than if you just buy a couple of things. So from a store, like business owner perspective, I understand the higher prices, but the advice giving that not only I did, now I don't want to drag anyone through the mud here, but the entire movement was sort of based on this. And if you have these options available to you, you can do it. And if you don't have these options available to you, I don't really know what to tell you. And it's already incredibly difficult to give people advice on where to shop because our options are so vastly varied. It's so different what people have available to them. So it's already really difficult, right? What I can find in paper without plastic, you might only be able to find in plastic, and then you have something in paper or glass available to you that I can only find in plastic. And I can just say I am really happy and relieved that it seems like the zero waste movement has evolved a whole lot since those early years, because I think either people get burnt out or just tired of failing, and there was no room, or at least that was my mindset, or sort of the mindset I was trapped in a little bit, but there wasn't room to fail. I didn't allow myself to fail, meaning that whenever I did fail, because obviously I did, because everybody does, but whenever I would fail, I would beat myself up about it. And then I'm not allowing myself to fail. When you allow yourself to fail, you acknowledge it, you learn something from it, and you appreciate that lesson. That's allowing yourself to fail. And for a long time, I think that's been a way of looking at mistakes that's been lacking from the zero waste movement. And it's something that I could say for the vegan plant-based movement as well. It's something that I'm struggling a lot with right now because I'm starting to open up and be more honest about my way of looking at things, my perception, the mistakes I make, and it's not landing well for everybody. So I still think we have a lot of work to do in terms of how we talk about these things and how much slack we're giving each other, and especially so ourselves as well. It's so incredibly important to me to be able to live sustainably and as an environmentalist. I want to do this for the rest of my life, and I won't be able to if I hold myself to standards that are completely unrealistic. And that can happen even if you care a lot about the cause. That can happen even if you are so passionate, but you have to nurture that passion. You have to take care of that curiosity, and you have to make sure that you are able to give yourself room to fail, that you are allowed to, and you're not a bad person, you're not a bad environmentalist. If you fail, even if you do something on purpose, it's the same. If you do something and it's a mistake and you do something on purpose that isn't ideal, same. Allow yourself to do that. That's perfectly fine. And I think we need to find a space for that type of conversation within the zero waste movement. At least if the zero waste movement is going to survive the next few years, because I think a lot of people are pulling themselves from it because we are just associating it still with those early vibes from 2014, 15, 16, that energy. And most of us have grown and matured in this lifestyle. And I think it's okay to let the lifestyle reflect that. Anyway, I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know down below in the comments. If you have any questions or if you want to share parts of your journey, I would be absolutely delighted to read them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you liked it. Leave me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. That would make my day. Take really good care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green zero waste content, and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!